We've got a really serious topic for our deep dive today.
Yeah.
It's about an animal that's in really, really dire straits.
Mm.
And it's a situation that I think, most people aren't aware of.
Yeah, and even the ones who are might not really grasp just how dire the situation is.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Taiwan leopard cat.
Right.
And the population numbers are incredibly low, fewer than 500 individuals.
Yeah, it's right on that edge, where it's
Right.
at that point where if things don't change, it's not just a decline, it's a very real possibility of extinction.
So we need to understand this.
Absolutely.
Why this has happened? What are the threats? What can we even do?
Yeah.
So let's start with just the basics.
Yeah.
What is a leopard cat, and what makes this Taiwanese population so unique?
Okay, so the leopard cat its scientific name is Prionailurus Bengalensis.
Okay.
And it's actually found across a pretty wide range in Asia.
So it's not just Taiwan.
No,
Right.
not at all. You find them from China and India all the way down to Southeast Asia.
Interesting.
And they're these, relatively small wild cats, beautifully patterned with spots and stripes. They're mostly active at night. They're good hunters. They primarily eat things like rodents, birds, smaller reptiles.
Okay, so like classic cat diet.
Yeah, pretty much. But what makes the Taiwanese population so distinct and so vulnerable is that it's critically endangered.
Right. Right.
Like you said, less than 500 individuals, and their range is very limited and fragmented, mostly just pockets in Miaoli, Nantou, and Taichung.
So even though it's part of this larger species, the fact that they're isolated like that
Right.
creates a whole other set of challenges.
Exactly. It's like they're on these little islands, and that has huge consequences for their genetic diversity.
How so?
Well, when a population gets that small and spread out, it becomes much harder for them to find mates,
Right.
which leads to inbreeding, and that weakens their resistance to diseases.
Mhm.
It also makes them less adaptable to changes in the environment.
So they're just much more fragile.
Yeah, exactly. They're much more vulnerable.
Okay, so we've got this shrinking habitat, this isolation
Right.
that makes them fragile. What are some of the other major threats that they're facing?
Well, one of the biggest is actually roadkill.
Oh, wow.
As their habitats are shrinking and getting chopped up, they have to cross roads more often to find food,
Right.
to find mates, to find shelter, and it's incredibly dangerous. There was a study in Miaoli County where they found that over 90% of recent leopard cat deaths were due to being hit by vehicles.
90%.
Yeah, it's really alarming. And as road networks expand, and often without taking wildlife into account, the problem's only going to get worse.
So these roads are basically like these barriers.
Yeah, they're these like death traps cutting through their already limited space.
It's like they're on these islands, and then they're trying to navigate these dangerous waters in between.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
So roadkill's a huge threat. What else?
Another big one is actually attacks by stray dogs. Yeah, so as human development pushes into these areas,
Uh-huh.
the number of stray dogs also increases.
Right.
And these dogs can actually kill leopard cats or drive them out of their territories.
And I imagine they also compete for the same resources.
Yeah, absolutely. It's adding another layer of pressure onto an already stressed population.
Okay, so we've got habitat loss that makes them vulnerable. Then you've got roads and stray dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any other kind of maybe less obvious threats that are also impacting them?
Yeah, there are things like pesticide poisoning are a problem as agriculture expands.
Okay.
The use of pesticides goes up, and even if they're not directly spraying the leopard cats,
Uh-huh.
the cats can eat prey that has ingested those chemicals.
So it's like a secondary poisoning.
Exactly, and then they can also get caught in traps that are illegally set for other wildlife.
Oh, wow. So they're sort of like collateral damage.
Yeah, and again, when you're dealing with such a small population, every single loss has a significant impact.
Yeah, it's a really, depressing picture.
Yeah.
But knowing all of this, knowing the severity of this situation,
Yeah.
what can we do? What are some of the solutions to help ensure that this animal actually has a future?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we need stronger government action.
Okay.
Like we need them to establish more protected areas, more wildlife habitats.
So just more space for them?
Exactly. More space that's safe and that's connected, because that's the other crucial thing.
What's that?
We need wildlife corridors.
What are those?
So those are things like tunnels or bridges that allow animals to safely cross roads and highways.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so instead of having to try and run across the road and risk getting hit, they have these dedicated safe passages.
That's a great idea.
And it helps connect those fragmented habitats so they can move around more easily, find mates. And it's really important for maintaining genetic diversity as well.
So that's kind of like a long-term solution.
Yeah, it's a bit more long-term, but it's something that could make a huge difference.
Okay, so beyond creating these corridors, is there anything that can be done about the roads themselves, like right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think reducing speed limits in areas where leopard cats are known to live,
Okay,
especially during dawn and dusk when they're most active, that could have an immediate impact.
right.
And putting up more and clearer warning signs for drivers to be aware of wildlife, that would also help a lot.
So just raising that awareness among drivers.
Yeah, making them more cautious.
Okay, and what about the issue of stray dogs? What can we do about that?
So I think it's a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
First, we need to manage the stray populations humanely and responsibly.
Right.
So controlling their numbers in a way that's ethical but also effective in reducing the threat to leopard cats.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is to really promote responsible pet ownership.
Right.
Making sure that people understand that if they're going to have a pet, they need to take care of it.
Keep it contained.
Exactly. Don't let it become a stray. Don't let it contribute to this problem.
So it's really about education and awareness.
Yeah. A big part of it is.
So we've talked about government action. We've talked about the roads, the stray dogs.
Right.
Is there a role for, everyday people, communities in this?
Absolutely. I think public awareness is huge.
Okay.
Educating people about this issue, getting them to care about the Taiwan leopard cat.
Yeah.
And then there are things like supporting local conservation organizations.
Yes.
Donating to them, volunteering with them that can have a direct impact on the ground.
And I imagine, being aware of our own actions.
Exactly.
Like if we live in these areas or we're traveling through them,
Yeah.
driving carefully.
Absolutely. Driving carefully, reporting any illegal activity we might see.
Like trapping or something.
Yeah, or even just environmental damage.
Okay.
And I think speaking up about this issue, letting our elected officials know that this is something we care about.
So it's not just about, hoping that someone else takes care of it.
No, it's about all of us taking responsibility.
Yeah, it really is a collective effort.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, we've covered a lot of ground here, and it's it's a really sobering topic.
It is.
But I think one of the things that I'm taking away from this is that it's not hopeless.
No, it's not.
There's still time to make a difference.
There absolutely is. But we need to act now.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so powerful about this is that it's not just, knowledge for the sake of knowledge. It's knowledge that can lead to action.
Right, and informed action at that.
Yeah.
Understanding the threats, understanding the solutions, and then actually doing something about it.
So it's really up to us.
It is in a lot of ways. Yeah, our choices, our actions, they're going to determine whether this animal survives or not.
I think that's a really powerful thought to leave our listeners with.
Yeah, I hope it inspires them to get involved.
Because the future of the Taiwan leopard cat is literally in our hands.
It really is, and it's such a unique and beautiful creature. It would be a tragedy to lose it.
Well said. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So let's all do our part,
Absolutely.
and hopefully we can turn this around.
Yeah, I have hope for that.
Me too. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been a really important deep dive.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us. And please, let's all work together to help save the Taiwan leopard cat.
Yeah, please.
It's a fight worth fighting.
Really is.